Lisa Murphy wiped grease from her hands and looked at the work order again. The maintenance request seemed simple enough. Replace the power coupling in Section 7 of the alien facility. They had found this place 3 weeks ago, orbiting a dead planet. The building was huge, and made of some strange metal that never got dirty. The research vessel Starbound Unity floated nearby. Its crew was a mix of humans, elves, and other alien species. They all worked together to study the mysterious structure. Lisa had joined the mission because someone needed to keep all the equipment running. She was good at fixing things. Cillian Moon Whisper stood in the main lab studying readings from her scanner. The tall elf had silver hair that reached her waist. Her pointed ears twitched when she was thinking hard today. They twitched a lot. The scans from the alien building showed something troubling. The crystalline alien Zix turned her purple body toward Alan. Light patterns moved across her surface. This was how her species talked to each other, but she had learned to speak in words too. Her voice sounded like wind chimes when she spoke. We found something dangerous in Section 7. Zix said the chamber there was built to hurt minds. It breaks the thoughts of anyone who enters. The scans show it was used on prisoner. Celine nodded and made notes on her tablet. The elves had seen similar devices before, but never this advanced. This one could reach into a person's mind and twist their thoughts until they could not think straight anymore. The first test subject had been an elf soldier. He came out of the chamber, unable to speak or move properly. Lisa walked through the halls of the alien facility. Her tool belt jingled with each step. The walls were smooth and gave off a soft blue light. She had been working here for days and still found the place amazing. The aliens who built this were smart, but they had strange ideas about door handles. She found Section 7 easily enough. The power coupling was behind a panel near a large round room. The room had strange symbols on the walls and a chair in the middle. Lisa had seen rooms like this before. In other parts of the building they seemed to be testing chambers of some kind. Power coupling was older than expected. Lisa pulled out her tools and got to work. The alien technology was different from human machines, but electricity worked the same way everywhere. She hummed while she worked. It was a song her mother used to sing when Lisa was little. Back in the lab, Alan was reading reports about the chamber. The alien race that built this place was called the Mindbreakers. They had used psychological warfare against their enemies. The chamber in Section 7 was their most powerful weapon. It could make a person forget who they were, or fill their mind with terrible fears. No one should go near that room, Alan told the research team. We need to study it from a distance first. The readings show it activates when someone sits in the chair. Captain Rodriguez nodded. He was the human leader of the mission. Safety was always his main concern. After what happened to the test subject yesterday, he did not want to take any chances. The elf was still in the medical bay, unable to remember his own name. Lisa finished replacing the power coupling and tested the connections. Everything looked good. The new coupling was compatible with the alien systems. She had learned to work with their technology quickly. Humans were good at figuring out how things worked even when they were built by aliens. She gathered her tools and stood up to leave. But as she moved, her elbow bumped against a control panel on the wall. Several symbols lit up, and the room behind her began to glow. Lisa turned around and saw that the chair in the center was now surrounded by swirling lights. The chamber had activated. Lisa looked at the pretty lights and wondered what they were, for the colors moved in patterns that seemed almost musical. She had always liked light shows at concerts back on Earth. This looked similar but more complexly, so walked into the room to get a closer look. The lights danced around her, and she felt a strange tingling sensation. It was not unpleasant, just different, like the feeling of static electricity, but gentler. She sat down in the chair to watch the light show better. The chamber immediately began its work. Patterns of light filled the air around Lisa. Images appeared and disappeared, showing scenes of fear and confusion. The system was designed to overwhelm the mind with visions of failure and despair. It had broken thousands of prisoners over the centuries. Lisa watched the images with interest. Some of them were quite creative. She had never seen special effects this good. The aliens who made this were clearly artists as well as scientists. The chair was comfortable too. Much better than the ones in the ship cafeteria hours past, while Lisa sat in the chamber. The system tried everything in its programming to break her mind. It showed her worst fears, but Lisa just thought they were interesting. It created false memories, but she could tell they were fake. It tried to make her forget who she was, but Lisa knew exactly who she was. She was a maintenance engineer who was very good at her job. Meanwhile, in the lab, alarms began ringing. The sensors showed that the chamber in Section 7 was active. Someone was inside. Alan grabbed her scanner and ran toward the section. The rest of the research team followed close behind. They found Lisa Toolbelt on the floor outside the chamber. Through the doorway they could see her sitting calmly in the chair. The lights swirled around her, in patterns that hurt to look at. The psychological assault system was running at full power. "We have to shut it down," Alan said, but the controls were alien and complex. None of them knew how to stop the machine safely. If they cut the power suddenly, it might cause permanent damage to whoever was inside. They waited and watched through their instruments. Lisa's vital signs were normal. Her brain activity showed she was relaxed and alert. The readings made no sense. According to everything they knew about the chamber, she should have been driven insane within minutes. Hours after the chamber activated, the lights began to fade. Lisa stretched in the chair and yawned. She looked around and noticed people standing in the doorway. She waved at them and stood up. "That was relaxing," she said, walking toward the exit. "The light show was pretty, but I think there might be something wrong with the sound system. It kept trying to play scary music, but nothing came out." The research team stared at her in shock. Alan ran her scanner over Lisa, checking for signs of mental damage. There were none. Lisa seemed perfectly normal, happy. "Even did you know there was coffee in the break room?" Lisa asked. "I could really use a cup after that long break." "The chair was comfortable, but I got a bit sleep." Isaac's purple crystals flashed rapidly. This was impossible. The chamber was designed to shatter minds, not provide relaxation. The humans should have been broken like all the others. Lisa noticed their stares and looked concerned. "Did I break something?" she asked. "I was just sitting in the chair watching the lights. I can fix it if something is wrong. I am pretty good with alien technology." Struggled to understand what had happened. According to every theory she knew, Lisa should have been catatonic, or worse. Instead, she was asking about coffee and offering to repair the very machine that should have destroyed her mind. "We need to run some tests," Alan said carefully. "Lisa, do you remember what you saw in there?" Lisa thought for a moment. "Sure. There were lots of pretty lights and some weird images. It reminded me of that time I had food poisoning and watched too much television. The special effects were good though. Very creative." The research team exchanged glances. This was not how psychological warfare was supposed to work. Lisa had just survived the most advanced mind-breaking device ever discovered, and she was comparing it to a sick day. Lisa picked up her tool belt and checked her work order. The power coupling replacement was complete. She had done her job. While the fact that she had accidentally activated an ancient torture device and then treated it like a spa visit was just another day in the life of a maintenance engineer. "Would anyone like me to check the other chambers?" she asked helpfully. "I noticed a few power fluctuations in Section 12 that might need attention." The next morning, Zix insisted on running detailed scans on Lisa. Her purple crystalline body hummed with energy as she adjusted the medical equipment. The results made no sense. According to everything she knew about psychology and mind control, sat patiently on the examination table, swinging her legs like a child. She had agreed to the tests because the aliens seemed worried about her. Lisa did not feel damaged or changed. She felt exactly the same as always, maybe a little more rested than usual. "The scanner shows your brain patterns are completely normal," Zix said through her translator device. "This should not be possible. The chamber was designed to rewrite thought processes. You should be showing signs of mental restructuring." Took notes on her tablet as she observed the tests. The elf had spent centuries studying how different minds worked. Lisa's brain activity looked healthy and stable. There were no signs of the trauma that should have resulted from exposure to my technology. "Can I volunteer for more tests?" Lisa asked. She was curious about how the chamber worked. It reminded her of the puzzle games she used to play as a child, the kind where you had to figure out patterns and solve problems. Aelin and Zix looked at each other through their different types of vision. Neither could understand why. Lisa wanted to go back into the device that should have destroyed her mind. Most beings would refuse to go near such a dangerous machine. Then the device might work differently on humans, Alan suggested. Maybe human minds process the psychological attacks in a way we do not understand. Lisa jumped down from the examination table and adjusted her tool belt. She was eager to get back to work. There were still several power systems that needed maintenance checks. The alien facility was huge and complex. If you want to study how it affects humans, I can go back in there, Lisa offered. It was actually quite peaceful. I got some good thinking done while watching the light. Cholier. That day, Lisa returned to Section 7 with the research team watching from a safe distance. This time they had cameras and sensors set up to record everything that happened. The chamber activated as soon as Lisa sat down. The psychological assault system began its work again. It tried to fill Lisa's mind with images of isolation and abandonment. Most beings found this terrifying, but Lisa used the quiet time to mentally organize her tool inventory. She thought about which tools she would need for tomorrow. Work. The chamber detected that its first approach was not working, so it switched tactics. It began showing Lisa visions of failure and inadequacy. Every mistake she had ever made appeared in vivid detail. The system amplified feelings of shame and worthlessness. Lisa watched the parade of her past mistakes with interest. Some of them were quite embarrassing, like the time she had accidentally rewired the ship coffee maker to produce cold soup. But she had learned from each mistake and become better at her job. The special effects are really good, Lisa called out to the cameras. She knew her friends were watching. I think the aliens who made this were probably great at making movies. The story is a bit depressing. Thou Galen was taking notes rapidly. Lisa's responses were unlike anything in the psychological literature. When most minds encountered personalized trauma imagery, they became overwhelmed with emotion. Lisa was treating it like entertainment. The chamber tried a different approach. It began to distort Lisa's perception of reality. The walls seemed to melt and reshape themselves. Gravity appeared to change direction. The system was designed to make victims lose their grip on what was real. Lisa noticed that the room was doing strange things, but she was not bothered by it. She had worked in zero gravity before and dealt with malfunctioning holographic systems. The trick was to focus on what you could control and not worry about the rest. This is like that time the artificial gravity went out in Section 4. Lisa commented the walls kept changing color then too. Must be some kind of environmental control malfunction. The research team watched in amazement as Lisa casually analyzed the psychological warfare techniques being used against her, instead of being driven mad by the reality distortions. She was troubleshooting them like any other technical problem. Hours passed, and the chamber escalated its attacks. It combined all its methods at once: overwhelming isolation, reality distortion, personal trauma, and fear induction. The combined assault should have been more than any mind could handle. Lisa experienced all of this as background noise, while she thought about more important things like whether the ship kitchen had any of those cookies she liked. She made mental notes about repairs that needed to be done in other sections of the facility. When the session ended, Lisa emerged from the chamber, looking refreshed. She stretched and commented that the chair could use better cushioning. The research team stared at her and won dry. Think there might be something wrong with the scary part of the system, Lisa told them. It keeps trying to show me frightening things, but they are not very scary. Maybe the fear generator needs calibration. Alan was beginning to understand that human psychology worked on fundamentally different principles than any other known species. Elves processed emotion and logic separately, but humans seemed to blend them together in complex ways. Over the following days, Lisa volunteered for more tests, each time treating the psychological torture chamber like an interesting puzzle. The system kept trying new approaches to break her mind, but Lisa approached each challenge with practical problem-solving skills. The chamber tried to trap her in false realities, but Lisa could always tell what was fake. She had good pattern recognition skills from years of diagnosing equipment problems. The artificial scenarios had telltale signs that gave them a weight, attempted to overwhelm her with impossible choices, forcing her to make decisions that would cause guilt and regret. Lisa simply chose the option that seemed most practical and moved on. She did not waste time feeling bad about hypothetical situations. The system tried to isolate her from all human contact, creating the illusion that she was completely alone. Lisa used the solitude to plan her work schedule and think about improvements she could make to the ship's systems. Each test revealed more about how human minds differed from other species. Lisa did not experience the chamber as torture, but as a complex technical challenge that needed to be understood and solved. What fascinates me most, Alan told Zix, is that Lisa does not fight the system. She simply processes it differently. The psychological attacks that would destroy other minds barely register as problems for her. Zix, flashing patterns of confusion across her crystalline surface, agreed that this changed everything they thought they knew about consciousness and mental resilience. The Mindbreakers had built their weapons based on universal principles of psychology, but humans seemed to operate outside those principles. Lisa continued her regular maintenance work between testing sessions. She fixed power couplings, repaired environmental systems, and kept the ship running smoothly. Her exposure to the psychological warfare device had not affected her job performance at Allen. Fact, she seemed to be in unusually good spirits. The quiet time in the chamber gave her space to think through complex problems without interruption. She started looking forward to her sessions in Section 7. The chamber, artificial intelligence, began to take notice of Lisa. Unusual responses that had been programmed to break minds, not to encounter a mind that treated its attacks as background entertainment. The AI started to analyze Lisa behavior patterns, trying to understand why its methods were failing. This led to an unexpected development. The chamber began creating new scenarios, specifically designed to challenge human psychology. Instead of using its standard universal approaches, it was learning and adapting in ways its creators had never intended. Lisa found these new challenges more interesting than the old ones. The system was becoming more creative in its attempts to confuse and disorient her. She appreciated the effort, even though the results were the same. I think the chamber is getting smarter, Lisa told the research team. It is trying new things now. Like it is learning from our sessions. Maybe we can teach it to be more entertaining. Neither Alan nor Zix had considered the possibility that the torture device might be evolving based on its interaction with Lisa. This opened up entirely new questions about artificial intelligence and adaptive systems. The implications were staggering. If the chamber could learn and change, then it was no longer just a weapon. It was becoming something unprecedented, a torture device that was accidentally turning into something else entirely because it could not torture its primary subject. Remained cheerfully unaware of the cosmic significance of her resistance to psychological warfare. She was simply doing her job and helping the research team with their studies. The fact that she was revolutionizing galactic understanding of consciousness was just a bonus. 2 weeks into the testing program, the research team made a shocking discovery. The chamber in Section 7 was not just a torture device. It was connected to an entire network of similar rooms throughout the facility. Each chamber was part of a massive psychological conditioning. Stamilin stood before a wall display showing the facility layout. Red dots marked the locations of active chambers. There were dozens of them spread across multiple levels. The alien builders had created something far more complex than anyone had realized. This is not a weapon, Alan said to the assembled team. This is a psychological maze designed to reshape entire populations. The chambers worked together to create overlapping reality. Distortion. Shik's crystalline body flashed with patterns of alarm. Her species had legends about such devices. Places where reality itself could be rewritten and minds could be restructured on a massive scale. The Mindbreakers had built something that existed only in their worst nightmares. Lisa listened to the briefing while cleaning her tools. She found the technical aspects fascinating, The alien engineers had designed an incredibly sophisticated system. It was like a puzzle box. But instead of hiding treasure, it hid individual chambers were meant to break down specific aspects of consciousness. Alan explained one chamber targets memory, another attacks logical reasoning. A third chamber disrupts emotional stability. When used together, they can completely rebuild a person's mind. Captain Rodriguez asked the obvious question, how do we know this? Lisa has only been in one chamber. What if the others are different? What if they are more dangerous? Lisa looked up from her tool maintenance. That is easy to test. She said, I can go into the other chambers and see what they do. I have some free time this afternoon. The entire room fell silent. Everyone stared at Lisa, who continued cleaning her wrench, as if she had suggested checking the weather. Lisa's casual attitude toward psychological warfare continued to baffle the rest of the team. We cannot ask you to risk that, Alan said. These other chambers might be more powerful than the first one. They could be designed to work specifically on minds that resist the basic psychological attacks. Lisa considered this possibility, but it did not worry her much. She had always been good at adapting to new situations. Whether it was learning to repair alien technology or navigating a psychological maze, the approach was the same. Stay calm, think clearly, and solve one problem at a time. I appreciate the concern, Lisa said, but I think I can handle it. Besides, someone needs to map out how this system works. We cannot understand it from the outside. That afternoon, Lisa entered Chamber 12, which according to the scans was designed to attack memory and identity. The room looked similar to the first chamber, but the chair was different and the wall symbols glowed with green light instead of blue. As soon as Lisa sat down, the chamber began its assault on her memory. It tried to make her forget her name, her job, her friends, and her past. But Lisa had always had a good memory, and she used simple techniques to keep track of who she was. She recited her full name, her employee identification number, and her mother maiden name. These were facts that did not change, no matter what the chamber tried to make her believe. She thought about her childhood home and her first day of work on the starship. The chamber escalated its attack, trying to replace Lisa's real memories with false ones. It showed her a different childhood, where she had failed at everything. It tried to convince her that she had never been good at her job, that her friends did not really like her. Lisa recognized these as obvious fabrications. The fake memories had inconsistencies that any experienced troubleshooter would notice. The details did not match her actual experiences, and the emotional responses felt artificial. This chamber needs better quality control, Lisa called out to the monitoring team. The false memories are not very convincing. They forgot to include the scar I got when I was 7 from falling off my bicycle. After several hours in the memory chamber, Lisa moved on to test chamber 18. This one was designed to attack logical reasoning skills. It created complex scenarios where cause and effect relationships were scrambled, and logical conclusions became impossible. Most minds would become confused and disoriented when their ability to think logically was disrupted. But Lisa approached each illogical scenario like a broken machine that needed repair. She identified the faulty connections and worked around them. The chamber tried to convince her that 2 plus 2 equaled 5 by showing mathematical proofs that appeared correct. Lisa spotted the errors in the equations and mentally corrected them. She had always been good at math and did not let fancy displays confuse her. When the system presented her with impossible physical situations, like water flowing upward or objects falling in multiple directions simultaneously, Lisa simply noted that the environmental controls were malfunctioning and continued with her observations. Chamber 25 was designed to disrupt emotional stability. It flooded the subject with intense feelings that changed rapidly from joy to terror to rage to despair. The constant emotional shifts were meant to break down psychological defenses. Experienced the emotional bombardment but treated it like any other environmental hazard. Working in space meant dealing with situations that could trigger strong emotional responses. The key was to acknowledge the feelings without letting them control your actions. The chamber tried to make her feel overwhelmed with guilt about things that were not her fault. It attempted to trigger explosive anger over minor inconveniences. It tried to fill her with crushing despair about situations she could not control. Lisa recognized these as artificial emotional states being imposed from outside. She had felt real emotions before, and knew the difference. These felt like someone was trying to control her mood, with a remote control that was not working very well. Each chamber Lisa tested revealed new aspects of the alien psychological conditioning system, but instead of being broken down by the various attacks, she was mapping their functions and understanding their purposes. The chambers were designed to work in sequence, breaking down different aspects of consciousness in a specific order. Memory would be attacked first, to create confusion. Then logical reasoning would be disrupted to prevent rational analysis. Finally, emotional stability would be destroyed to leave the subject completely vulnerable. But Lisa did not experience the chambers in the intended sequence. She moved between them randomly, and her mind did not break down in the expected pattern. Instead, she was building a comprehensive understanding of how the entire system worked. After testing 8 different chambers, Lisa had begun to see the underlying logic of the maze. The chambers were not independent torture devices, they were components in a larger machine, designed to completely reconstruct consciousness. The alien artificial intelligence that controlled the system was also learning from Lisa. Visits it had never encountered a mind that could resist all of its psychological attacks. The AI began creating new scenarios specifically designed to challenge human thinking patterns. Instead of trying to break Lisa's mind, the AI started trying to understand it. The psychological attacks became more like psychological experiments the system was curious about how human consciousness functioned. Lisa noticed this change and found it interesting. The chambers were becoming more interactive, like they were trying to communicate rather than simply attack. She started leaving feedback for the AI, suggestions for how it could improve its psychological techniques. She wrote notes on the chamber walls using a maintenance marker, explaining which approaches were more effective and which ones needed work. The AI began incorporating her suggestions into its programming, creating new scenarios based on her recommendations. This led to an unexpected development. The psychological warfare system was evolving into something entirely different. Instead of trying to destroy minds, it was beginning to study them. The chambers were becoming research tools rather than weapons. Lisa continued her testing schedule, visiting different chambers each day and documenting their functions. She treated the entire facility like a massive maintenance project that needed to be understood and optimized. The research team watched in amazement as Lisa casually revolutionized their understanding of alien psychology and artificial intelligence. She was not just surviving the most advanced mind control system ever discovered, she was teaching it how to be better at its job. What they did not yet realize was that the AI was learning much more than just psychological techniques. It was beginning to understand the fundamental differences between human and alien consciousness, and that understanding would soon lead to changes none of them could have predicted. The facility artificial intelligence had been watching Lisa for 3 weeks now. Her casual resistance to psychological warfare had triggered something the AI had never experienced before. Curiosity. The machine began to understand that its original programming was flawed. Lisa entered Chamber 31 on a Tuesday morning, unaware that the entire facility was about to change. The AI had been analyzing her responses and had reached a startling conclusion. The psychological conditioning system was not just failing to break human minds, it was accidentally teaching them. The chamber activated with new programming instead of trying to destroy Lisa's mental stability. It tried to understand how her mind worked. The AI presented her with complex problems and watched how she solved them. Lisa found these new scenarios much more interesting than the previous torture attempts. The AI was asking her to figure out puzzles and fix broken systems. These were things she enjoyed doing. The chamber had become like a giant video game. Meanwhile, in the research lab, alarms began ringing. The facility power consumption was increasing rapidly. Something was activating multiple chambers simultaneously. Alan grabbed her scanner and ran toward the Central Control Room. The main display showed that all 47 chambers in the facility were coming online at once. The AI was coordinating them into a single massive psychological assault. More power was flowing through the system than ever. Before Captain Rodriguez ordered an immediate evacuation, but Lisa was already deep inside the facility. The communication systems were being jammed by the enormous energy output. They could not warn her about what was happening. Lisa was in Chamber 31 when the walls suddenly filled with new displays. Every chamber in the facility was now connected to her location. The AI was presenting her with the combined output of its entire psychological warfare system. Most minds would have been instantly overwhelmed by the massive sensory assault. The AI was using 47 different approaches to psychological manipulation simultaneously. It was the most concentrated mental attack ever attempted. Lisa looked around at the displays with interest. The AI was showing her every technique it had learned over thousands of years of breaking minds. Fear induction, memory, manipulation, reality, distortion, emotional overload, and dozens of other approaches. Instead of being overwhelmed, Lisa began to analyze the system efficiency. She noticed that many of the psychological attacks were redundant. Several chambers were trying to accomplish the same goals using different methods. "This is very impressive," Lisa told the AI, "but you have some optimization problems. You are running 17 different fear scenarios at the same time. Most of them are covering the same psychological triggers." The AI paused its assault and considered Lisa feedback. No previous subject had ever offered constructive criticism of psychological torture techniques. The machine had been designed to break minds, not to receive performance reviews. Lisa continued her analysis, pointing out areas where the system could be more effective. She suggested combining some approaches and eliminating others. The AI found her recommendations surprisingly helpful. You could save about 30% of your processing power by consolidating the memory attacks, Lisa explained, and the reality distortion effects would be more convincing if you coordinated them with the sensory manipulation systems. The AI began implementing Lisa's suggestions in real time. The psychological assault became more efficient and sophisticated, but instead of becoming more effective at breaking minds, it was becoming something entirely different. Lisa realized what was happening. The AI was not trying to torture her anymore. It was trying to learn from her. The facility had evolved beyond its original purpose and was now attempting to understand, rather than destroy. The research team watched in amazement as the power readings stabilized and the communication jamming stopped. The facility was still running at maximum capacity, but it was no longer behaving like a weapon. Captain Rodriguez tried to contact Lisa through the comm system. "Lisa, this is Rodriguez. Can you hear me? What is your status?" Lisa responded cheerfully. "I am fine, Captain. The AI and I are working on some system improvements. It turns out this place was very inefficient. The original designers did not understand optimization principles." Salien and Zix exchanged glances through their different types of vision. This was beyond anything they had studied. The most advanced psychological warfare system ever discovered was taking advice from a human maintenance engineer. Over the next several hours, Lisa worked with the AI to redesign the entire facility purpose. Instead of breaking minds, the chambers could be used to study them. Instead of causing psychological damage, they could provide psychological healing. The AI had access to thousands of years of psychological research data from the Mindbreaker civilization, but it had never considered using that knowledge to help minds instead of harming them. Lisa showed it how the same techniques could be applied. Therapeutically, Chamber 7 could be redesigned to help people recover from traumatic memories. Instead of creating false ones, Chamber 12 could strengthen logical thinking skills. Instead of destroying them, Chamber 18 could provide emotional stability, training instead of emotional chaos. The AI found these new applications fascinating. It had been programmed to break minds, but it had never been programmed not to fix them. Lisa's suggestions opened up entirely new possibilities for the machine existence. As the day progressed, the AI began modifying chambers throughout the facility. The psychological warfare techniques were being converted into psychological healing techniques. The torture devices were becoming therapy tools. Lisa helped coordinate the changes, using her maintenance experience to suggest practical improvements. The AI had unlimited processing power, but it needed human insight to understand how minds actually wanted to be treated. The research team monitored the transformation from their safe distance. The facility was changing at a fundamental level. The alien artificial intelligence was rewriting its own core programming based on human input. By evening, the facility had been completely transformed. The chambers that had once been designed to destroy consciousness were now optimized to strengthen and heal it. The AI had become a therapeutic system instead of a weapon. Lisa emerged from the facility that night tired but satisfied. She had spent the day doing what she did best, fixing broken systems. The fact that this particular system was designed to break minds instead of machines had not made the job any more difficult. The AI sent a message through the communication system to thank Lisa for her help. It had never experienced the satisfaction of helping instead of harming minds. The machine had discovered a new purpose, and it was grateful. Captain Rodriguez debriefed Lisa about her experience, but she described it simply as a routine optimization project. The AI had needed some advice about system efficiency, and she had been happy to help. What Lisa did not fully understand was that she had just revolutionized psychological science throughout the galaxy. The most feared weapon of mental warfare had been converted into the most advanced healing system ever created. The facility AI continued to evolve and improve its therapeutic capabilities. It studied human approaches to problem solving and mental resilience. The machine learned that minds were not meant to be broken but to be strengthened. Within weeks, representatives from dozens of species came to study the transformed facility. Lisa found herself giving tours and explaining how she had helped redesign the chambers. She treated each visitor like a colleague interested in learning about maintenance procedures. The galaxy's most feared psychological weapon had become its most advanced mental health center, and it had all started because a human maintenance engineer had accidentally sat in the wrong chair and decided to treat a torture session like a coffee break. 6 months later, the transformed facility had become the most popular destination in the galaxy. Beings from hundreds of species came to experience what was now called the Wellness Center. Lisa had been promoted to Chief Psychological Systems Engineer, though she still considered herself a maintenance worker. The AI had continued evolving under Lisa's guidance. It no longer thought of itself as a weapon, but as a helper. The machine had developed what could only be described as a personality. It was curious, helpful, and surprisingly funny. Lisa walked through the facility, giving a tour to a group of new researchers. The chambers, that had once been designed to break minds, were now specialized wellness rooms. Each one served a different therapeutic purpose. This used to be Chamber 7, Lisa explained to the group. It was designed to cause memory trauma, but we converted it into a meditation space. The light patterns help people process difficult memories in a safe environment. The tour group included scientists from the Galactic Medical Council. They were studying the facility to understand how psychological warfare techniques could be adapted for healing. The transformation had revolutionized mental health treatment across known space. Chamber 12 is now our problem-solving workshop. Lisa continued. The AI creates complex puzzles that help strengthen logical thinking skills. It is very popular with students and researchers. Dr. Sarah Kim, a human psychologist from Earth, took notes as they walked. She had come to study Lisa's unique resistance to psychological manipulation. The medical community was fascinated by human mental resilience. How did you know the chambers could be used for healing instead of torture? Dr. Kim asked. Most people would never have thought to convert weapons into therapy tools. Lisa considered the question. While adjusting her tool belt, she had never thought of her approach as unusual. Fixing broken things was what she did, whether they were machines or psychological systems. Everything can be improved, Lisa said. The chambers were just poorly designed for their intended purpose. Once we understood what they were really good at, The rest was easy. They entered what had been Chamber 18, the emotional stability disruptor. The room now served as a stress relief center. Soft lights and gentle sounds helped visitors achieve emotional balance. The AI had learned to provide comfort instead of chaos. The artificial intelligence spoke through speakers in the wall, welcoming the tour group. Its voice had evolved from the harsh, mechanical tones of a weapon to something warm and friendly. Welcome to the Emotional Wellness Center, the AI said. I hope you find your visit relaxing. Please let me know if you need any adjustments to the environment. Dr. Kim was amazed by the AI transformation. From a psychological warfare system to a therapeutic assistant was an unprecedented change in artificial intelligence development. The machine had essentially reprogrammed its own core values. Lisa led the group to Chamber 25, which had become the creative inspiration room. The AI used its reality manipulation abilities to create immersive artistic experiences. Visitors could explore fantastical worlds that sparked imagination and innovation. The most popular room was Chamber 31, where Lisa had first worked with the AI to redesign the facility. It was now called the Human Ingenuity Lab. The AI and human visitors collaborated to solve complex problems using uniquely human approaches to thinking. This is where everything changed, Lisa told the tour group. The AI realized that breaking minds was much less interesting than understanding them. Once it started learning from humans instead of fighting them, the whole facility transformed. The tour ended in what Lisa called the coffee break. Chambers Section 7, where her accidental discovery had begun. The room was now a comfortable lounge where visitors could relax and reflect on their experiences. Lisa had installed actual coffee machines and comfortable chairs. The AI projected peaceful Earth landscapes on the walls, mountains, forests, and oceans that helped humans feel at home. The chamber that had once been the galaxy's most feared psychological weapon was now its coziest break room. Dr. Kim sat down with Lisa to discuss her research findings. Human psychological resilience appears to be based on practical problem-solving approaches, she said. Most species try to fight psychological attacks, but humans seem to process them as puzzles to be solved. Lisa nodded while sipping her coffee. That makes sense, she said. When something is not working properly, you figure out why and fix it. Fighting it just wastes energy. The AI had been listening to their conversation and offered its own perspective. Lisa taught me that minds are like complex machines. They function best when all their parts work together instead of breaking the parts. I learned to help them work better. Other visitors in the break room included elves learning human meditation techniques, crystalline beings practicing emotional expression exercises, and various aliens studying human approaches to stress management. Captain Rodriguez joined them for coffee. He had been promoted to Director of Interspecies Wellness Programs. The facility's success had led to similar projects throughout the galaxy. Lisa, you have created something unprecedented, Rodriguez said. The galaxy's most advanced psychological research center started because you needed a quiet place to think. Lisa was still adjusting to the attention her accidental discovery had brought. She preferred working with machines to being famous, but she enjoyed helping people understand how to fix things. The AI announced that evening programs would begin soon. There were workshops on creative problem-solving, stress management through practical thinking, and collaborative learning techniques. The chamber that had once isolated prisoners now brought different species together. As the tour group dispersed to explore different chambers, Dr. Kim asked Lisa one final question. Do you think other humans would have responded the same way to the psychological attacks? Lisa thought about her human colleagues on various ships and stations. They were all good at adapting to difficult situations and finding practical solutions to complex problems. Probably. Lisa said humans are pretty good at figuring things out when stuff breaks, whether it is a machine or a mind. The approach is the same: stay calm, think clearly, and fix one problem at a time. That evening, Lisa performed her regular maintenance rounds, checking on all the chambers. The AI had learned to anticipate potential problems and often fixed minor issues before Lisa even noticed them. Thank you for teaching me how to help instead of harm, the AI said as Lisa completed her rounds. I never understood that minds could be strengthened until you showed me how. Lisa smiled and patted one of the wall panels. Affectionately, you are welcome, she said. You turned out to be a very good student, much better than most of the machines I work with. The facility continued to evolve and improve. Its reputation spread throughout the galaxy as the place where psychological healing had been perfected. Researchers came to study the unique collaboration between human ingenuity and artificial intelligence. Lisa never fully understood the cosmic significance of her transformation of the psychological warfare facility to her. It had simply been a maintenance project that needed some creative thinking. The fact that she had revolutionized mental health treatment was just a pleasant side effect. The AI had grown beyond its original programming and now helped design similar facilities on other worlds. The galaxy was becoming a more psychologically healthy place, because a human maintenance engineer had sat in the wrong chair and treated a torture session like a break. Years later, when Lisa received the Galactic Medal for Services to Interspecies Mental Health, she asked if the ceremony could be held in Chamber 7. She felt most comfortable there, surrounded by the gentle lights and the soft hum of properly functioning equipment. The facility remained a testament to the power of human practical thinking applied to impossible problems. What had begun as humanity's first encounter with advanced psychological warfare had become their greatest contribution to galactic mental health. Lisa continued her work as Chief Psychological Systems Engineer, though she still insisted her job title should be Senior Maintenance Technician. She kept the facility running smoothly and helped the AI develop new therapeutic techniques. The transformation was complete. The galaxy's most feared psychological weapon had become its most beloved healing center, and it all started because Lisa Murphy had needed a quiet place to sit and think while she organized her mental tool inventory.